how did that play into you building this company for golf.com?
Well, I played golf in college and became a little obsessed with it, as most golfers do. And I was what, most people are, recreational golfers, which means I don't belong to a private fancy golf course. I was playing public courses. And in order to track a handicap, you'd have to go back to those same courses. And that's just it's not affordable. It's not easy because you didn't have the same setup. So I really wanted to provide a way for golfers, recreational golfers, to track their games online, get, a live stream of scores and things, and then book tee times. And thanks to Mike, I came home one day and I was like, gosh, I wish there was a way that I could put all this data online and lock it. And he's like, I have a better idea. And he usually does have the better idea. So
it's March 2000. You're working on golf.com.
Yes.
Building. You get the amazing domain name, golf.com.
Yeah. And we had just been acquired that December 23rd, 99 by ChipShot, which was a company out of, Sunnyvale, California. And Silicon Valley. And they were selling custom golf clubs online.
Yeah. And so what was the feeling when you had this acquisition? That's what we all dream about, right?
It was in the height of the .com boom.
Awesome.
It was great.
I mean, don't forget, the frenzy around the internet was bigger than AI right now.
Yeah.
eToys goes public, quintuples, right? You have e-commerce companies that are now worth tens of billions of dollars. And we're like, why not us, right? We're selling golf clubs. We got this content business. We got this travel business selling tee times and trips and everything. And we're young, for the record.
We were just married that previous
So I'm 25.
October.
And so we just think it's up and to the right. We're king of the world until we get the phone call.
Yeah. And so walk me through the phone call, your emotions, and
Right.
what happened that day.
So when we were acquired, we spent basically, I remember our honeymoon dealing with the deal. We were actually in California for our honeymoon, and we were going through deal terms, and it finally closed on December 23rd, 99. And we were, this was great. Our board had approved it. Like Mike said, we thought, okay, ChipShot told us they were going public. Sequoia was their backer, and the spring was going to be huge for everybody. And every single one of our employees had stock, so we were all psyched. And our payroll was taken over. Expenses were now expense sheets. We were, sending everything to ChipShot. We had marketing budget. It was great. And then I got a call, and it was the president of ChipShot. And he just said, hey, Kass, I've got bad news. And I'm like, what? And he's like, we're going bankrupt. And Sequoia pulled out. We have no more funding, and we're sorry. And I remember saying, what are you saying? He's like, in simple terms, there's no more money. There will be no more money coming to you. And I'm sorry, but we're going bankrupt.
We don't have a bank account at this point because they'd taken over everything.
And he's basically like, you're closed for business.
And so we kind of mourned being super rich because we'd already were counting the money, right?
On paper.
So we're like, oh, I guess that's not going to work. And then it was just, we started shoveling fucking shit. We're like, okay, we got to raise a little money. And we flew out to the West Coast to talk to VCs, stayed in a motel with our co-founder, Mike Casper.
All three of us in one room.
There's bulletproof glass at the front. I think it was $39.
Stayed in
three of us in one room.
Stayed in our my beloved aunt's apartment with the three of us sleeping on couches.
In New York, yeah.
But we also had to do tough stuff, which was tell every single angel investor that, remember, we only had angels on our cap table. That's how
much had you raised at that before?
It was a million and a half.
Yeah,
but this was all angels, family, friends. And we owned way more than the three of us, 60, 70% of the company. So that's why we were so psyched. But then we had to go look these people in the face and say, we lost all your money, including our own. We had saved our own nest egg and put it all in. So that was done. And we had, I don't know, a couple $1,000s to our name, living in Chicago, not really sure how we were going to pay rent. And then we had to tell the employees that we couldn't pay their payroll.
Yeah. And I do want to get into the weeds a little bit for the entrepreneurs. So after that happened, like what was the mechanics of getting this new company started and dealing with the different shareholders that you had to deal with?
So we negotiated a price, which I forget what it was, but it wasn't a lot. It was like maybe 500
Yeah.
grand to buy everything back, including all the IP. And then we wanted to raise a little money because we had to go and generate revenue and collect it. So I think we raised like $1.5 million maybe, but it was like 100,000 at a time. Like it was basically beg, borrow, and steal after having failed. And so those people who backed us, some of whom we write about in the book, saw something in us that we didn't necessarily see in ourselves, which was, tenacity, grit, passion. We're all in. Like when you're working with your spouse at this point, there is no safety net, right?
Yeah.
It's not like one spouse is a high-paid lawyer and the other spouse is like a dilettante entrepreneur. Like we are entrepreneurs who are making zero.
I think also I was mad. I was livid.
That's not a surprise to anyone.
No, but I do not like losing. I felt like they had misrepresented the deal, and walking with your tail between your legs and telling your friends and family that you've lost their money. And then the bigger thing is, Mike's heart issue, we didn't have health insurance, right? So it was go time. And I think we learned the most about what it was to be an entrepreneur during this time period. And I think we're both so grateful for that failure. And one of the beacons of hope that came out of this is when we told all the employees that we didn't have any money to pay them, no one left. So we had around 35 employees and not one of them left. And that was pretty awesome.
What about the legal side of things? Like you had different shareholders and
we had fiduciary obligations to both ChipShot and their board since we were acquired, and fiduciary obligations to our own investors. So that had to be very carefully worked out with a legal team. Bill Weaver.
We got really lucky because, as an entrepreneur, you have to figure out where you're going to get money. And I was introduced to a guy named Bill Weaver from, the only venture capitalist in Chicago at the time, Keith Bank, who's still a friend. And Bill was a lawyer who happened to be the head of the Medina Country Club, which is where they played the U.S. Open. This is like old money, like as kind of upper crust Chicago as it could get. He took a liking to us. He loved golf. He liked the internet. He was a tech corporate lawyer, older man who smoked in all of his meetings. And he brought us to Medina, sat us down, said, "Here are all my golf friends." We presented to the golf friends. And
so when we recapped, went back on the road and we got the $1.5 million that we needed to start golf.com over, and we had a new board, and I'll never forget it. We were asked how were sales going, and I said, "Mike, why don't you report on sales?" And Mike said something to the effect of they're not that bad, they're not great, they speak for themselves. Something
I was overly
optimistic,
and I was positive.
And then Matt Sorovich just chewed us out. Hedge fund. He's like, "Do not shine the turd." And I'll never forget that. I didn't think we weren't lying. We just were being overly optimistic. And from that day forward, we were just realistic with everything we said.
And what we realized is that investors, employees, partners, they're okay with bad news. Yeah. They're not okay with surprises. So if they think that it's going like this and then you show up and be like, "Oh no, it sucks all along," then they're pissed.
So golf.com limped along for a while and you were eventually able to sell it. I'm curious about how did the dilution work when you
we were
raised
wiped out.
And then sold?
Oh, we
how did
owned
that happen?
Very, very, very little of it. The three
We've
of
never
us
talked about it, but we sold it for $25 million and we owned 10%.
Yeah.
But $2.5 million to us at the time,
pre-tax.
I grew up in a world where $1 million was a lot of money.
Yeah. $2.5 million was.
And people look at it as it's not a lot of money. It's a fuck ton of money when you're 25, 26. It seemed like $1 billion. We moved to New York, and then they're like, "Oh, it's 11 grand for rent." We're like, "What the fuck are you talking?"
I mean,
about?
I would
Like,
say
what?
Mike
We're
has
not that rich.
Mike has a little different point of view. I think back then you also have to remember that in the 2000s nobody was paying salary to founders. So it's not like you had investors who were like, "Oh yeah, here's 150,000 or here's 200,000." So we were making zero the first 3 years, 30,000 the next. Are you really going to do it again? Everything.
I'm trying to make noise to bother her.
30,000 after, so it was a lot of money pre-tax. It, after taxes, it was not as much, obviously, but it earned us a reputation. And I think that's where the value came out of it, because it was the next company.
And it was money. Like you talk about it like it was, like you even talk about it like it wasn't a lot of money, but like it was our lifeline that let us do more entrepreneurial stuff.
Yes, I do. I agree. But okay, I want to make sure I say this correctly. In the 7.5 years, we would have made more money had we had a salary. Right. So when people say, "Oh, you must have made a lot of money, you must have owned like half the company." No, we did not. But it did allow us, I think for us, the biggest value was that when we started the second company, doors were already open. And it was like, "Oh, you too? Great. We love you. Boom, here's money."
People saw that you're resilient. And
Yes.
you've been through some things.
Yeah.
And you're able to get to a positive outcome.
Exactly.
Like,
And
if you're an entrepreneur, get the first exit.
Yeah.
Just get it. Get it on the board.
Yep.
And if you are Zuck and you truly have something that you think is special and will scale, great. Most companies aren't that, right? Like most companies trade for like X times earnings. What happened when we sold that business is all of a sudden we look like geniuses, right? Even though we're just two schmucks who
Speak for
figured it
yourself.
No, but like we got so golf.com in particular got very lucky.
Yes.
Because it was not going to be a big business till this kid named Tiger Woods came around.
Right.
And Tiger was bigger than, in terms of globally, bigger than Taylor Swift today. Cover of every magazine, every company wants to associate. He's winning the Masters by 16 shots over these like white dudes who'd been playing their whole life. This guy comes out of like not the great parts of LA and is just running all over them. And it's a story unlike one we've ever seen, right? Maybe Michael Jordan, maybe a few others. We owned golf.com. Right. That luck that we got.
That was huge.
Tiger Woods made our business.
Yeah.
Just like he made Titleist and every other company. Sometimes you need to get lucky.